I didn't want it to loop there. Hey, music fans, and welcome back to SoundLab Studios. Today is going to be the next installment in my top 100 album series. Today we are going over number 40 to number 31. We are really getting into the really good ones here. Some of the big, I don't even know what to say about these albums. Just some of my absolute favorite albums of all time. Ones that I just play all the time. Really like to listen to. Ones that I consider classics, and I think that lots of people should listen to. So, if you haven't been here before, going through my top 100 favorite albums, this is not a definitive list of what I think are the greatest albums of all time. Just the ones that I personally think are my favorite, because you're going to see a lot of albums by the same artists and a lot of albums that people would say are the best albums of all time that aren't on my list. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and just throw this up real quick. I just picked the wrong one. If you scan that right there, then it will take you to my homepage, SoundLab Studios, and you can subscribe to my channel for more fun and amazing music content. Just scan that right below. Okay, now to get into the video. What is number 40? You might be thinking, what is number 40? Well, I say from number 40 all the way down the line to number 1 are just like some of the most mind-blowing and amazing things that I've ever heard. Like, especially this one, number 40. When I first heard this, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. What's really crazy about number 40 is there's only 3 songs on the album. Talking about Close to the Edge by Yes. I'm going to take it out of the plastic cover because this sleeve is super cool. I got to open it up. Look at that. This artwork was drawn by Roger Dean, who did a lot of the Yes album artwork. It's very simple on the front, but you open it up and it's... Look at that. It's like you could almost like imagine yourself exploring this land. And then here's the back with the band members. Yes, Close to the Edge. So there's only 3 songs on this album. Man, what songs they are. This was released after Fragile. This is the second album with the same lineup. This is the lineup that most people think of when they would think of Yes. John Anderson, Rick Wakeman, Steve Howe, and Bill Bruford. After this, Alan White replaces him, which is also a very great drummer. But this album right here, man, just so cool. The first song takes up the entire first side of the record. It's the title track, Close to the Edge. My goodness, one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever heard. It just starts with some ambient sounds of like nature, and you can almost imagine that's what's going on in this land here. And then like this like filter sweep goes like, and then Steve Howe just comes in with the guitar like, oh, how did I forget Chris Squire? I didn't mention Chris Squire when I was talking about the lineup. My goodness, because his bass. Well, Steve Howe's going do. Chris Squire's like, and Rick Wakeman's like, and it's just like, what am I listening to? And then it just cuts out, and all the music at the same time just stops, and John Anderson just goes and it just goes right back in, and then like just whenever you think that it couldn't get any crazier, all the music comes together, and you get and that's a theme that you're going to hear. This first song, Close to the Edge, it's like a rock symphony. Like, because of its long length, I almost liken it to a rock symphony. It's even, I can make a whole video on this, because it's even almost kind of put in, let me expand my video. There we go. I could make an argument that it was written in sonata form, Close to the Edge. Any classical people out there? Because, like, you have all those elements in there. The main theme, a recapitulation, all those different elements that make up a sonata form. They're in this song. So, but anyway, that main theme, you're going to hear that a lot in this song. And then you get to Steve Howe starts playing an electric sitar, which is super cool. And you get to the main part of the song, and the chorus gets stuck in your head. Close to the edge, down by the corner, down by the edge, close to the river. Seasons will pass you by. I get up, I get down, and then yeah, that's another motif that you hear throughout this song a lot. I get up, I get down. Do 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 do. Yeah, and then you get this little duet with the bass and the organ, and then it all just cuts out. And you start hearing this just beautiful ambient music, and it like sounds like water dropping. And that's when you get to my favorite part of the song, which is called I Get Up, I Get Down, which they sing that a whole lot in that section. I get up, I get down. And then you get just like these piano chords, just boom, 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 boom. I get up, I get down. I get up, I get down. And whenever he hits this high note, he's like, I get up, I get down. And when he hits the high note, Rick Wakeman comes in on an actual church organ. Like they went to a church and recorded an organ that, like, you see the pipes on the walls and all that. Rick Wakeman played a church organ, and whenever that church organ comes in, it's just like, and he like the sound fills the whole room, and you're like, they put a church organ on this? Like, this is amazing. And then it's double Rick Wakeman, but then the organ joins while he's singing the I Get Up, I Get Downs, and the church organ's playing the chords. And then at the end, the church organ starts going, and then while it's doing that, a synthesizer comes in. It's like, it's like Rick Wakeman is playing one of the oldest instruments in the history of music, a church organ, and one of the newest instruments in the history of music at the time, a synthesizer, at the same time. And it's like doing a duet. It's like, and then he goes, and you're like, what am I listening to? This is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. And right as soon as you get to that, you get, it goes back to that theme. And then while it does that, Bill Bruford's like going ham on the drums. And then it goes back to the close to the edge, down by the corner. It gets back to that, and it's like, what's going on here? Like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever heard. And then it goes back to the ambient sounds and kind of fades out, and you're just like, that's one of the best 20 minutes I've ever heard in music. And that's just the first half of the album. You flip it over, and you got And You and I. And You and I, this beautiful song, And You and I, mainly driven by Steve Howe's acoustic guitar, but Rick Wakeman on the the mellotron. Why did I forget about that? That's one of my favorite instruments. Rick Wakeman on the mellotron really augments the sound of And You and I. The last two songs are 10 minutes long. But And You and I, my goodness, like I told you just a minute ago, it starts out with the acoustic guitar played by Steve Howe, and then Rick Wakeman joins in on the mellotron, and then John Anderson singing. My goodness, this is a beautiful song. I love the part that goes, and you and I, do. I don't know all the words. That's my only criticism of this album, is that the words really don't mean anything. And this album, I mean, like, they could mean something to John Anderson, but my understanding is whenever Yes wrote this album, they wanted to go more by the way the words sounded rather than what they meant. I get that, but it also makes the songs very vague, especially the last song, extremely vague. But I love And You and I, beautiful song. And then the last song, Siberian Catru. Oh my goodness, this song rocks. Oh my goodness, that riff. So heavy. Chris Squire is this hero of this song. And just another 10 minutes of what am I listening to? You just headbanging the whole time. It's like, this is insane. And if you did not like Fragile, I know Jacob did not like Fragile, the songs here are more complete thoughts. I think Jacob would like this album a lot better if he's watching this video. I know the songs are long, but my goodness. Some of just the best musicianship you'll ever hear on this album. Close to the Edge by Yes. Number 40. Let's catch up with the chat real quick and see what we got here. I'll share my albums as you go along. Signals by Rush. Jason, this is not the kind of album that I think you would like. All right. Let's get into number 39. And no, it's not A Night at the Opera by Queen, if anyone was wondering, because of 39. Number 39 is an album that we actually reviewed recently. We're on Nick Townsend 505's channel, and that is another progressive rock album. The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. This is the last album with Peter Gabriel on lead vocals. Super cool album cover here, but the story of this album, there's a concept album. The story of this album makes no sense. It's so weird, but the music is really where it's at. My goodness, the music to this is amazing. It has some of the best synthesizer playing by Mr. Tony Banks. Peter Gabriel singing is great. Phil Collins drumming. Steve Hackett's guitar playing. Mike Rutherford's bass. Oh my goodness, just, again, some of the best musicianship you're ever going to hear. Title track, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. That piano intro. And the lamb lies down on Broadway. Oh, that's going to get stuck in your head, and the Mike Rutherford's face. So good. Fly on a Windshield. Oh my goodness, the drumming on that. Phil Collins was trying to release his inner John Bonham on that one. And the Broadway Melody of 74, another great one. In the Cage, one of the best synthesizer solos ever. Love In the Cage. That's one of my favorite Genesis songs of all time. Back in New York City, love that one. Counting Out Time. Super goofy guitar solo on that one. It sounds like... It's like, take it away, Mr. Guitar Man. Like, I can't tell if they're trying to be serious or goofy on this album half the time. Half this album is extremely serious, and half of this album they're doing a bunch of goofy stuff. Carpet Crawlers. Oh my goodness, the Carpet Crawlers. That's another one of the Genesis's best songs. Chamber of 32 Doors. I love that one. I love the little piano chord at the end that goes. Bling. Colony of Slippermen, another really cool synthesizer solo on that one. Riding the Scree, yeah, just good stuff on this album. Very long, very odd story, but still just a fantastic album. Genesis have appeared quite a bit on this list. Ringo Starr. Carpet Crawlers is amazing. Very good. Okay. Number 38. We got some Electric Light Orchestra. Electric Light Orchestra with a new world record. This album right here is so good. It mixes orchestra music with rock music, and their leader and lead vocalist, Jeff Lynne. That guy is a musical genius. Just so good. Very catchy songs on here. Great production. Again, the orchestra just adds such another level to these great songs. If you're like a classical musician but also like rock and roll music, you gotta listen to this. It's so good. Tightrope. Oh, starts out with this really cool string section, and it's like a choir, and then it comes in with the guitar. They say some days you're gonna win. They say some days you're gonna lose. Well, say, I got news for you. You. It's got an echo. You're losing all the time. You never win. Oh. You think you say how it's going to be, going to put you down. Yeah, these songs are going to get stuck in your head. They're so catchy. Telephone Line. Telephone Line is one of the greatest songs of all time, in my opinion. I love at the beginning with that little telephone solo. It sounds like he's dialing, and he goes... The synthesizer is so cool on there. And then in the beginning, it sounds like he's singing through a telephone. It's like he's trying to call someone. He's like, hello, how are you? Have you been all right? All those lonely nights. Did I say, I'll tell you anything if you pick up that telephone. Boom, boom. And then it just changes time signatures. Oh my goodness. So, not only are these songs catchy, they're musically good too. I love the chorus. It's like a 50s doo-wop thing, like telephone. Oh, he can hit that high note a lot better. Give me some time. I'm living in twilight. Do 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 do. And the orchestra. Oh my goodness, love Telephone Line so much. Rock aria. That's an interesting song because it really mixing the orchestra with the classical on that one. There's an opera singer on that one, and it's a song about a guy who likes rock and roll and a girl who likes classical music, and they date each other and like show each other their musical tastes. Really catchy song too. Mission, a world record. That one's kind of odd, but it's really cool. Got some cool sound effects on there's a voice. Side 2, So Fine. It's kind of a more disco-infused song. I like that. I love the breakdown of So Fine where there's like this groovy percussion and then the orchestra comes in. And I love the chorus, I want it so fine. Living Thing. That's another really great song. It's a living thing. Do-do-do-do-do-do. It's a terrible thing to lose. Another super catchy song that's going to get stuck in your head. Above the Clouds. That's probably my least favorite on the album because it's just kind of a short song. Kind of more of a filler song, but still really great. Do Ya? That's got one of the best guitar riffs. Ba, 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 meow, bow, bow, no, bow, no, 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 no. Do, 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 do you want my love? And it gets stuck in your head again. Apparently, this isn't the original version of that song. Jeff Lynne was with another band called The Move that recorded that song and wanted to kind of update the song to Electric Light Orchestra. I've listened to The Move's version, and the Electric Light Orchestra version is a lot better. And then it closes with Shangri-La. Really great ending track that references the Beatles. It says, Shangri-La has gone away. It's fading like the Beatles on Hey Jude. Which you probably know, but if you don't get the reference, Hey Jude has this super long fade out. But it's a great way to close this album, and I love how at the end you keep singing I Will Return to Shangri-La, and then the opera singer comes back and sings behind him. But really great way to end this album. This album is just amazing. Yeah, Jason likes this album. I would expect you to like this album, Jason. It's right up your alley. This one and another one by the same band that's going to be later on the list. But yeah, New World Record by Electric Light Orchestra. Love this album. So great. All right, number 37. They're back. The band that makes a lot of appearances on this list. Queen. Let's see if Briar appears. This is their album, A Day at the Races. This is the follow-up to A Night at the Opera. And my goodness, boy, did they deliver on delivering another fantastic album. The album cover is kind of just A Night at the Opera, but the black scheme. I mean, it's different. The pictures are different. But still, I think it's cool because they're kind of going, like, saying, like, this. They're kind of boldly saying this is going to be the next Night at the Opera, even with the title. Both of them are based off of a Marx Brothers movie, and you know what? They had every right to do that because this is really a very fitting follow-up to A Night at the Opera. Some of Queen's best songs are on here, like Somebody to Love, one of their big classics, but there's also some really underrated deep cuts on here that nobody seems to be talking about. Like You Take My Breath Away. Oh my goodness, this song is beautiful. It's mostly just Freddie Mercury and the piano, but it's like, this is so good. Like, how come nobody's talking about this song? And then The Millionaire's Waltz, that's kind of like it's kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody Part 2, but man, it's so good. A lot of different sections, and I love Brian May's guitar solo on there. It's like very whimsical feel to it. You and I, that's a song that should have been a big hit, but wasn't. Love that song. We already talked about Somebody to Love. Man, I love that song. I say the choir. Freddie Mercury and Brian May and Roger Taylor are like overdubbing their voices a bunch to sound like a choir, and it really works. It has like a gospel feel to it. Brian May's guitar solo is fantastic. Yeah, one of Queen's best songs. White Man, that song is super underrated. Big heavy rocker on this album. Love that one. Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, that's the other hit on here. Another fantastic song. I love the piano on that one. And the last song, Teo Toriate, is Freddie Mercury's love letter to the Japanese fans, because Queen was really big in Japan. So he wanted to write a song dedicated to the Japanese fans. Yeah, fantastic stuff on this album. Like, if you're a Queen fan and you haven't listened to this album, please listen to it, because it's great. 37 Day at the Races. All right, what's in the... I knew it. All right. Number 36 is an artist that has made lots of appearances on this list. It's just because I've listened to a lot of his albums this year. When I redo the list, I don't know if he's going to have as many albums on the list, but here he is yet again. David Bowie with the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. Yeah, so this is his best-selling album for a reason, and the very first video that I did on this channel was a review of this album. In that video, I gave it an 8 out of 10. My score has gone up. I'm doing a Bowie series right now, so when we review this album, expect an even higher score than an 8. But just some classic 70s rock on this. 5 years, really great way to open the album. Really cool drum groove. This is the album that kind of launched Bowie's career. Soul Love, that's a really great song. I love the saxophone on there. I didn't really like that song the first time I listened to this album, but that song is really growing on me. Soul Love. Moon Age Daydream. Oh my goodness. That was in Guardians of the Galaxy. That song is amazing. I love Mick Ronson's guitar solo at the end. Starman. That's another song that's going to get stuck in your head for weeks. There's a starman waiting in the sky. And the little guitar break. Bow, 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 down, bow, 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 down, down, bow, and the piano. Yeah, fantastic song. Star. Something, something, something. I'm a rock and roll star. Ziggy Stardust, the song. Great guitar riff. Great drumming on that song as well. Suffragette City, Wham Bam, Thank You Man. Man, that's a great song as well. I love the guitar on that one. Hey man, do 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 do. I say, hey man, don't lean on me, man, cause you can't afford a ticket back to Suffragette City. Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite song on this album. This really good guitar. There's like some horns on there. Great piano playing too, and this song kind of reminds me of Back in the USSR by the Beatles a little bit, just with kind of the backing vocals and the feel of the song. And then Rock and Roll Suicide, man, very powerful way to end this album. It's just Bowie and his guitar at the beginning, but then like at the end you get like an orchestra and drums, and he's screaming like, "You're not alone, no, you're not alone," and then it just ends with boom, boom. It's like, this is a very powerful way to end this album. Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, number 36. Let me just check the comments again before we get to number 35. Jason saying that Day at the Races is a 10 out of 10 for him as well. It's going to be on his list. Okay, number 35. Another band that's been on this list way too much. Genesis, again, with Duke. Don't worry, it's this album and one more, and then we'll be done with Genesis. But I love this album. I love this album so much. Gatefold there. This is one of the best Phil Collins Genesis albums. Phil Collins was going through a painful divorce at the time that this album was released, so a lot of the songs really hit home for him. They're talking about loneliness and heartbreak. This is right when Genesis was changing their sound, so you get some prog elements, some pop elements, some synthesizers, some electric pianos, all kinds of just really cool, like, experimental stuff on this album. And some great commercial sounding stuff as well. Behind the Lines, some of the best drumming ever in Behind the Lines. Great way to open the album. I love Tony Banks's Yamaha electric piano sound on this album as well. Duchess, very first song to use a drum machine. Love that song as well. Man of Our Times, really good drumming from Phil Collins on that song. Misunderstanding, everybody knows Misunderstanding. Love the piano, I love the riff. Bow, no, 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 no. Woo-woo. Lots of songs on these albums that are going to get stuck in your head. I love the key change in that song as well. Well, I've been waiting for this weekend. You know that maybe we can see a show. Heat Haze, very underrated song by Genesis. I'm not going to go super deep into that. Watch my review on this album if you want me to dissect the lyrics on that song. But that song is amazing, and I love the piano playing on there. Turn It On Again, my favorite song on the album. Very complex song for a top 40 radio hit. It's in 13/8 time. I don't know how Phil Collins was able to drum along to that. Super catchy, too, for how complex it is. Alone Tonight, man, that song hits so hard. It's such a sad song, especially considering what Phil was going through. Cul-de-sac, love that one as well. Love the synthesizer on there. Please Don't Ask. That's probably the most personal Phil Collins song. It's a piano ballad. Really just talking about his divorce. It's the one that most overtly talks about his divorce on this album. Talking about how he misses his son. My goodness, that's just such a heartbreaking song. And then Duke's Travels and Duke's Ends is one of the most epic instrumentals I've ever heard. More fantastic drumming, great synthesizer from Tony Banks. Like, perfect end to this album. I love it. Duke by Genesis. I miss my boy. Oh, I hope he's good as gold. Let's see. Update the chat. Genesis and Bowie are well represented on Nick and my list. Yeah, I may have put too many Genesis and Bowie albums on my list. If I was to remake the list, and probably will at a later date, I don't think I'm going to have as many of them, so that I can get some other artists on the list. Nick says, I'm back! All right. Nick, you just missed Ziggy Stardust and Duke were the two albums that I just did. Number 34, an artist that has only had one album on the list so far. So this is the second album by them, and that is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. This is my second favorite Pink Floyd album. And look at this album cover. It's such an iconic image. Two gentlemen in the Warner Brothers studio lot shaking hands, and one of them is on fire, just kind of really saying something about the music industry there with that picture. And I can kind of just think about the song Have a Cigar whenever I see that picture. Just about come over here, have a cigar, we're gonna make you go places, but then like he gets caught on fire. And then on the back it's a guy holding the record, but he doesn't have a face. My goodness. The first song on this album, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, is my favorite Pink Floyd song. I love it so much. It starts out with just this ambient synthesizer played by Richard Wright. And then, as it goes on, then David Gilmour starts just throwing in some guitar licks in there. And then you get these four notes. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. That kind of lead into the next section of the song. Lots of just great jamming. The vocals don't even come in until like 6 minutes into the song. But man, when they do come in. This song is a tribute to their first lead singer, Syd Barrett, who had some mental illness and had to leave the band, but they wanted to make a tribute to him, which is this song. I mean, even the words, Shine On You, Crazy Diamond, SYD, Syd Barrett, coincidence? I think not. And they like even overtly reference Piper at the Gates of Dawn. They say, like, come on, you painter, you seer of visions, come on, you piper. Like, that's a direct reference to him. But just the musicianship on this song is so good, and I love the saxophone. There's saxophone in here when that comes in. Ooh. And then like the music changes styles too. Like the drumming switches up. Nick Mason switches to more of a shuffle beat later on. So good. Welcome to the Machine. That's another fantastic song. I love how the synthesizer and the drums kind of make it sound like it's actually a machine. Of course, we already talked about Have a Cigar. I love that song too. It's the only song on the album not sung by David Gilmour or Roger Waters. It's sung by a guest vocalist named Roy Harper, so hats off to him for singing that song. But that song is really just talking about kind of the scumbags of the music industry who just want to exploit their artists for money. They even say, like, oh yeah, which one's Pink? Like, because Pink Floyd is the name of the band. They're like, which one of you is Pink? And Pink Floyd's not a member of the band. And then you get the title song, Wish You Were Here. I love that. At the end of Have a Cigar, like, switches to sound like it's coming through an old radio, and then it's like you hear somebody change the station from Have a Cigar to Wish You Were Here, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. And then it sounds like David Gilmour is listening to Wish You Were Here on the radio and just playing along while he's listening to the radio on his guitar, because he coughs, goes while the riff is playing, and then the song comes in. It doesn't sound like a radio anymore. Beautiful song. Love the guitar playing. I love the line, "We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl." That's a good line. That is a very good line. And then the final song on this album is the second half of Shine On You, Crazy Diamond, which completes like the album to a full circle. It's amazing. You gotta listen to this. It's so good. All right. Catch up with the comments here. Oh, it's Don Joe Fonzarelli. Yeah, he was on one of Nick's videos recently. Thank you for watching. I don't have the postcard in it. I do have the inner sleeve. It does have the inner sleeve, but I don't have the postcard, sadly. The sad thing is that I Wish You Were Here, and honestly, really any Pink Floyd album, they're super expensive. So in order to get that album, I wanted to get a kind of a cheaper copy, so unfortunately it doesn't have the postcard insert. But it's a really good sounding copy of the record, though. Jason didn't really care for the album. Oh, that's sad. But then again, some of the songs are very long on this album, so I can see why you wouldn't like it. But yeah, I'm glad you like Wish You Were Here. That is a great song. And then there's Don Joe Fonzarelli again. Have a Cigar and Welcome to the Machine. Yes. Very great. Yeah, I know Nick's not too big on Welcome to the Machine. Okay. Now we're going to get back to the Rolling Stones, and this is one that I'm not going to show the cover of very long because I hate it, and I'm only going to show the back cover. I don't like the cover of this album. Sticky Fingers. I like the Spanish cover a lot better, where it's like fingers in a can. I like that album cover a lot better. The album cover is like Mick Jagger's crotch. I'm like, what are you trying to do with this cover? But the music on this album is fantastic. Sticky Fingers. My goodness, this was the first album where you got Mick Taylor as the full member. He did a few songs on Let It Bleed, but he's a full member on this one since Brian Jones had died. And his contributions to this album are so good. This is just classic Rolling Stones. A great 70s rock album. Starting off with Brown Sugar. Man, just a fantastic riff. Bow, 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 bow. Yeah, that just a great riff. The saxophone on this song, oh my goodness, Bobby Keys. I'm so glad every time that the Rolling Stones bring him in to do saxophone, because it always elevates the song so much. Sway, fantastic second song on the album. I love Sway. Another song that's really going to get stuck in your head. It's just that demon wild's got you in its sway. Wild Horses. That's one of the best songs on the album. It's the big ballad on the album. I love Wild Horses so much. Beautiful song. Great guitar playing by Keith Richards and Mick Taylor. It uses an alternate tuning, which is cool. I love the chorus. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Yeah, that's going to get stuck in your head too. And then you got Can't You Hear Me Knocking. Oh my goodness, that's another fantastic song. Really great guitar riff on that one. Ba-doom ba-doom ba-doo-doo. Ba-doom ba-doom ba-doo-doo. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And great drumming from Charlie Watts. What I really love about Can't You Hear Me Knocking, though, is the jam session at the end of this song. You get Bobby Keys on the saxophone again, and Mick Taylor playing the guitar. Like, it's just a great song and a great jam. You Gotta Move. We're not going to talk about that one. I don't like that one. But then you got some more great stuff on the second side. I love I've Got the Blues, kind of a tribute to old soul songs. Dead Flowers, that's a great country song. Sister Morphine, oh my goodness, that song makes you never want to try drugs. If you listen to it, you ain't never going to want to try drugs after you hear that song. And the closing track, Moonlight Mile, fantastic song, and it's got some orchestration on there, which I think is really cool. So yeah, Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones, number 33. Wish You Were Here is probably the most worn. Yeah, that's one thing that I noticed about Wish You Were Here is that a lot of them have like brown ring wear on it. Like my cover, it doesn't have a lot of ring wear on it, but there's like a hole in the album there. Other than that, that's supposed to look burnt there. That's on purpose, but the rest of the cover looks pretty good. Johnny Cash, yeah, Nick really likes Johnny Cash. Yep, I know. Jason hates that cover, yeah. Oh, we got the Strawberry Alarm Clock. Band on the Run, Permanent Waves, John Denver. Jason's not a big fan of the Sticky Fingers album. Yeah, I can kind of see that. It's not all the songs are ones that Jason would like. And again, Can't You Hear Me Knocking is kind of a long song. Jason's not really big on long songs. Association. Yeah, Wild Horses. Love that song. That's one of the reasons that this album is so high up on my list, because I love that song. That song and Can't You Hear Me Knocking are just on another level. That was number 33, Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones. We got two more on this list. Number 32. Number 32 is going to be Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. We are now getting to, like, we've talked about some good stuff already. We're getting to the really, really, really good stuff now. Bridge Over Troubled Water, last album by Simon and Garfunkel. It's their best one, in my opinion. They don't have any bad albums, but this one's just on another level. And you know what's funny? Watch this. Garfunkel has a mustache. Look at that. It looks like Garfunkel has a mustache. But I just lost viewers because of that. Bridge Over Troubled Water. It's their last album, but they really just went out with a bang. The first song on this album, Bridge Over Troubled Water, is my favorite song of all time, just because of how beautiful it is and the end of it. Like, I can't even describe how much I love this song. The piano playing, Garfunkel's voice, the echoey drum sound of the orchestra, and then the last note. Oh my goodness. Best song of all time, in my opinion. And it doesn't even have any guitar in it. I'm a guitar player. I love songs with guitar. My favorite song of all time doesn't even have any electric guitar in it. El Condor Pasa. It's a traditional Peruvian song, folk song, with added lyrics by Paul Simon. It's really cool. Cecilia. Another fantastic song. It's got this cool beat in the background. Really catchy. See ya. You're breaking my heart. You're shaking my confidence daily. That's going to get stuck in your head, too. Keep the Customer Satisfied. That's one of the most underrated songs on the album. One of my favorites on the album. And coincidentally was the B-side of Bridge Over Troubled Water. But I love the horns on that song. Man. That's what makes the song so amazing, is the horn section on there. So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright. Beautiful ballad sung by Art Garfunkel. The Boxer. Boxer is my second favorite song on the album. Just amazing, fantastic stuff. Great guitar playing, good storytelling. He carries a reminder every glove of everyone who cut him down or it's whatever till he cried out, I'm leaving. The lyrics on this are just so good. Baby Driver, another great song. Only Living Boy in New York. Love that song as well. My biggest complaint with this album, though, is why is Song for the Asking the last song on the album? It's such a short song and feels like such a dull way to end the album. I love this album to death, but like they should have picked like The Boxer or like one of the other songs, or maybe even like So Long Frank Lloyd Wright, or you know what? No, Only Living Boy in New York, because that song is kind of about Simon and Garfunkel's breakup. That should have been the last song on the album, because they would split up after this album to do solo careers. If Only Living Boy in New York was the last song on this album, it would make it even better. But even as it is, it's very high on my list. 32, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Foxtrot. Yeah, that's my second favorite album by them. That one's really good. For Jason, it's the best Simon and Garfunkel album. 10 on 10 will be high on his list. Yeah, Boxer, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Cecilia, Keep the Customer Satisfied, Only Living Boy in New York. Just fantastic. Aha! We finally got an album that all three of us have on the list. It's Bridge Over Troubled Water. Jason was saying earlier that he hasn't seen an album that's on all three of our lists yet. There it is. We got one. Although, just thinking of something. I don't know if Paul Simon is trying to copy Bob Dylan on the Blonde on Blonde album cover whenever I'm looking at this. Okay, number 31. Number 31 is an album that I considered making my favorite album of all time. But I went against it, and now it's number 31. But when I first listened to this album, I thought this was the greatest thing I'd ever heard. Looking back on it, this still has some of the best musicianship I've ever heard. It's very mind-blowing, but it's not my favorite. But I still love it. It's still very high. And that album is Relayer by Yes. Relayer by Yes. This is kind of written in the same style as Close to the Edge was. Oh, there's a gate. Forgot there's a gatefold in here. But it's written in the same style as Close to the Edge. You got a 20-minute song on the first side that makes up the whole side of the first... that was confusing. There's a 20-minute song that makes up the entirety of side one, and then there's two 10-minute songs for side two, just like Close to the Edge. But this is even better because it's more mind-blowing. It's even more mind-blowing. The first song on here is called The Gates of Delirium, and that song is all about how horrible war is. You start out with something I got to say real quick before I start talking about the songs, though. Different keyboard player, different drummer, and different keyboard player. Alan White is the drummer. I actually like him better than Bill Bruford. People are gonna hate me for saying that, but you know what? I like Alan White even better. And then the keyboard player, instead of Rick Wakeman, I'm so sad that we lost Rick Wakeman. I mean, he comes back on the next album, but still. Patrick Moraz is the keyboard player on this album. And oh my goodness, he takes this album to another level. This album starts out with some really cool sequenced keyboard playing from Patrick Moraz. And then John Anderson comes in, just kind of talking about going off to war. And even like this album cover elicits going off to war. We got these riders on these horse riders going off to war, emerging from a pit of snakes in a cliff. Like, just crazy. The song just kind of progressively gets more and more frantic and just talking about anger and like we're going off to war. And then the song literally plays out a battle in front of your ears. You get to witness a battle in front of your very ears. The musicianship is just insane. Steve Howe just does these crazy guitar licks. Alan White's holding it all together with his drumming. Patrick Moraz has... I don't even know how to describe some of his keyboard playing on here. And in the background, you get these sound effects of like crashing and it's like you're just listening. You're listening to the horrible sounds of war right in front of your very ears. And it's amazing. Like, war is awful. But this song and the sounds are epic. And then the battle dies down, and you're left with just sadness and a somber sounding song. And then you get to the last song, or the last section of the song called Soon, which it's the hopeful section. That the war is over, but there's hope that soon the war will end and we can all have peace. And that section, the Soon section, oh my gosh, that song is fantastic, or that section of the song is fantastic. I love the mellotron on there. I love John Anderson singing. I love the melody, the soon, oh soon night. And I love the end. The end ends on a very tense chord, but then it just kind of releases and goes into this very ethereal, very hopeful, very positive sound, saying that even though war is awful, there's hope that it'll all end one day and we can be in peace. And that makes the 20 minutes of that first song just worth listening through the whole thing. Because as awful as it is to hear all that awful war and stuff, it's worth it when you get to the Soon section. Just like an actual war, like whenever it's over, if there's peace, like there's hope for the future, you know? Profound stuff on this song. The second song is not quite as profound. It's called Sound Chaser, but it's epic. It's like jazz fusion with electric keyboards played by Patrick Moraz, like and then Chris Squires like it's like there's this crazy bass solo, and then he starts going ham on the bass, and Steve Howe is doing ham on the guitar, and it's just like, what am I listening to here? This is epic. Sound Chaser is fantastic. And then it all cuts out, and it's just an acapella, well, not acapella, like unaccompanied guitar solo played by Steve Howe that kind of reminds me of Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin. They use this diminished chords and all this crazy stuff. It's just like, now he's going ham on the guitar by himself. It's just like, this album is mind-blowing. It's so amazing. The last song, To Be Over, is the ballad. It's a lot slower. It's much more chill after all the craziness you had with the last two songs. But it just kind of rounds out the album, and man, I love this album so much. It's so good. And if you've never heard this, you like progressive rock, you got to hear Relayer. It's epic, great musicianship, and like I was talking about Gates of Delirium, just like the message behind it of having hope. And then the artwork. Look at the artwork. Look at that. That's so cool. Done by Roger Dean, who did the other album, Close to the Edge, as well. Close to the Edge. Relayer, 31. Oh, that's the last one on the list for this one. All right, let me catch up with the chat, and I'll just recap. Johnny Cash, Live at Folsom Prison. That is a great album. I've never heard it, but I know it's a great album. Yeah, my favorite Yes album as well. Nick liked it the first time he heard it, but it's not one he goes back to. I mean, I can see that. I don't really think that's Nick's kind of really his style of album. Another Yes album. Yeah, I don't know why I like Yes so much. I guess it's because just the musicianship. Like, the musicianship is just on another level of Yes. Nick has no Yes albums on his list. That's fine. That's fine. Jason, if you want to get into Yes, try 90125. That's a fantastic album that I really wanted to put on my top 100 list, but I didn't. I think you'd like that one. It's got Owner of a Lonely Heart, which is a song that you probably know. But if you want to listen to Yes, try 90125. I think you'd really like that album. But yeah, that's my list for this time. 31, Relayer. 30, Bridge Over Troubled Water. 29, sorry, I had an audio problem. 29, Sticky Fingers. 28, Wish You Were Here. 27, Duke. 26, Ziggy Stardust. 25, Day at the Races. 24, New World Record. 23. Oh, wait, I'm getting it all wrong. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and then Close to the Edge. I said all the numbers wrong, but that's all the albums. 31, Relayer. 32, Bridge Over Troubled Water. 33, Sticky Fingers. 34, Wish You Were Here. 35, Duke. 36, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. 37, Day at the Races. 38, New World Record. 39, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And 40, Close to the Edge. There we go. So, next time we're getting to the 30s. There's only going to be like 3 videos left. Oh, and I this video was a lot longer than my other ones because we're getting into my favorite albums, and I'm going to spend more time talking about these ones. So thank you guys very much for watching. I am glad that you guys have tuned in. Next time we're going to be talking about the really, really, really good stuff. We're getting to the 30s and the 20s and the 10s. It's going to be amazing. So, see you guys in the next video. Remember, music is art, and art is expression. And go check out our review of A Christmas Gift to You, produced by Phil Spector, tonight at, I think, 9 o'clock my time, over on Jacob Martin's channel.